Let's roll on. We got Brock Weaver going up against Jalen Turner, the late notice replacement. Jalen Turner, lucky him, he's getting a fight. DFS by the numbers. What do you got on this one?
Yeah, this is going to be a really good fight here. I'm not all that high on Brock Weaver. I picked against him in both fights in the UFC for him. The one fight he won due to a disqualification to an illegal knee, a fight that he was losing, and then he got submitted by Roosevelt Roberts. I like Turner a lot in this matchup. I think he's going to have a lot of physical advantages. Turner was supposed to fight last week against Moises, and I had Turner in that fight too. I wish I would have played out, but I think this is a really good matchup for him. He's going to have that range, that length. And Weaver, the thing about him, he doesn't have much power for us, as tough as he is, and he's kind of like a brawler. The way you beat Turner is with that power, and Weaver has finished, I think, like one fight out of his 20 fights. So I just don't see a path to victory for Weaver. Maybe he holds Turner up against the cage for 3 rounds, but I just think Turner's the way better fighter. I'm not high on this Weaver guy, and I know he switched camps. It could help him, but if this hits the ground, like Turner has a really good ground game, a brown belt in BJJ. He doesn't really go out for takedowns, but in this fight, maybe he is able to. And if it goes to the ground, I think he's going to submit him. But even on the feet, he has a lot of power. Weaver's tough. I think Turner's going to win this fight. I mean, he's minus 325 right now. I think that's a really good parlay piece. Maybe by finish, but Weaver is very tough. I hope he comes out here and tries to get to the mat, but I just haven't seen a lot of that out of him. If he does that, I think there's a clear path to victory. But if he stands with Weaver, even then I think he'll be fine. He's going to have that range, that length, and he hits like a truck. So give me Jalen Turner, most likely inside the distance.
Sure thing. Cody Saftik, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, okay, so I agreed with absolutely all those points. I'm feeling like this is a good parlay piece because, I mean, he's too big of a price tag to bet straight up, so why not add him to these parlays? But then the more I think about it, I start feeling this like strange feeling in my stomach. Well, what is that? I'm hoping it's just indigestion. But I think Brock Weaver's still kind of a live underdog in the spot. I know a lot of people are backing him prior to the cancellation getting this fight, but what's kind of making me the most nervous is the 165-pound catch weight. And I say that because Brock Weaver's a big guy, right? Whereas Jalen Turner always has that advantage where he's 6'3" and fights at 155 pounds. It's just kind of a freakish thing. Brock Weaver's 6 feet tall, and when you see him, I mean, he's a big lightweight as well. Not only that, Brock Weaver actually missed weight his last time out against Roosevelt Roberts, coming in at 157, and had previously bare-knuckle boxed Joe Riggs just last year in a fight that he came in at 175. He is a big guy. So Jalen Turner is a natural 55er. He wants to fight at 155, use that length and that reach and all those gifts that he has at lightweight. But because he's coming in on ultra short notice, just not enough time for him to make 155. Brock Weaver was going to make 155 anyways, right? But now he gets to fill back out. And I think that if he takes a lot of Turner's weapons off the table, being that length and that size at that weight class, then yeah, he's just got to make this an ugly fight. You kind of see them at weigh-ins, they get into a fun little exchange. It looks like it's going to be a super entertaining fight by all means. But you also just see at weigh-ins, it's like, you know what? It does kind of seem like Brock Weaver is a thicker guy, like a more muscular guy. And then there's my second issue with Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner looks fantastic, blowing guys out of there really quick. He touches you up, he puts you away. He's got nasty knees, nasty kicks on the outside, good straight long punches, but he's finished a lot of opponents first round, second round. If you extend this guy out a little bit, wear on this guy a little bit, maybe you can make it happen. Brock Weaver, not a cardio machine by no stretch. I agree 100% with DFS by the numbers that I've actually bet against Brock Weaver in both of his fights. I'm 1-1 because of the DQ. And even in the DQ, people talk about, Brock Weaver is very durable. He gets dropped hard by Kazula Vargas. He's lucky he takes that knee in the face and says, I can't continue, because he's on his way to losing it. And then against Roosevelt Roberts, doesn't look great. But I think that if you look at two performances in and say, the guys look terrible, and you just write them off easy into that sum, Jalen Turner taking the fight on 2 days' notice, and he's a minus 325 off the hop, that's when I start to get a little bit worried that it's very easy to just not do your tape study and just jump on Jalen Turner and say, fuck, this guy's a good parlay piece. I want to ride with him. And to a certain extent, he's going to be on some parlays for me. I just don't know that he's that key parlay piece, because short notice fight that he's not the one with the full camp. It was Brock Weaver. And on top of that, Weaver got some size. And on top of that, Weaver can maybe extend this into some later rounds, and Turner's got some unknowns. All those little uncertainties is things that I don't want if I'm betting at 325. So Jalen Turner, with a grain of salt, going to be on mid-range parlays, late-range parlays. But I don't know that I go all in on him this week.
Absolutely. Guru, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of agree a little bit with what Cody's saying. I mean, if you look at Jalen Turner's record, if you look at fights at that finish in the first round, he's won a majority of them, but after the first round, he's 1-3. So, I mean, that's not a great record for fights going out of the first round. So, I mean, if you bet on Jalen Turner at minus 300 or over that, you want him to go out there and finish Brock Weaver with the knockout in the first round. And the one thing you could say about Brock Weaver, even if you don't think he's that skilled or anything like that, is he is very tough, and durable. So it's going to be maybe tough for Turner to get that first round finish. It's just when you look at everything in totality, it is hard to pick Brock Weaver just from his 2 fights in the UFC. Even his fight in the Dana White Contender Series, it was a lot of just controlling against the cage, not a super impressive performance. So at range, I think Turner's going to have a big time advantage, a speed advantage. Obviously, he has the height and reach advantage. So I think Brock Weaver's way to win the fight is just to try to control it against the cage. But I don't know, man. I mean, I just have more faith in Turner getting the win. I just, like Cody said, I mean, Weaver is at ATT. He did have the full camp. So if it gets extended, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Weaver could get the win. But I'm going to side with Turner as a pick, and there's going to be no play for me here.
All right. Well, there you go. Caution seems to be in the air with this fight. And I tell you guys what, man. I kind of feel similar. I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to find someone who's willing to fade Brock Weaver harder than me. I'm just not impressed with this guy, what we've seen in the octagon. I mean, was outright just losing a fight to Kazula Vargas that I think almost everyone thought he was supposed to win. I mean, Vargas, he's just not very good, yet he was dominating Brock Weaver up until he landed that ferocious knee that I'm pretty sure put Brock Weaver out entirely. I mean, I don't know if there was any debate on whether or not he could continue. My man lost consciousness for a good 5 or 10 seconds, I think. But yeah, man, Jalen Turner, I mean, a guy that is a little bit questionable at times. I know when we had the matchup last week, Thiago Moises, Jalen Turner opened up as a pretty hefty underdog and got bet down quite a bit. And I think all 3 of you guys were on Turner. I was the only one willing to take Moises there. I'm not a big guy on Jalen Turner either. I mean, the guy's got a lot of God-given tools. He's very long, very tall, does seem to bring a pretty good amount of power for a guy that isn't as necessarily muscularly built. Does have good striking, good skills relatively everywhere, but I got to tell you guys, man, I'm feeling that same feeling you guys are feeling in my gut that there's a chance Brock Weaver wins this fight. At the same time, could I ever bet Brock Weaver? He's going to have to really show me something before I could ever even imagine betting Brock Weaver. And if I'm being honest, I'm sure I will end up working Turner into probably at least one parlay. I'm not sure who I'll pair him up with yet, but I think I'll be getting a little something on Turner, but nothing major. Definitely no straight bets, anything like that. Like Guru brought up, man, you look at Turner's record. If he's not getting you out of there quick, things can get a little dicey. So Brock Weaver, pretty tough guy, I think. This fight could end up being interesting, but I'm on Turner, man. But it's less me being high on Turner and more of me being just so turned off on Brock Weaver. Is there anything we missed on that one? Anybody wants to throw in?
No, the only thing I want to throw in was a great point mentioned in the comment section is that Jalen Turner's not taking the fight on short notice. He had a fight against Thiago Moises, so therefore he's had a full camp, and that is a great point, actually. So he's not going to be in bad shape by no stretch. But just going back to the very first thing I said on this fight, it's the 165-pound catch weight that's messing me up because I think that Brock Weaver is going to fill out in that frame a lot better, whereas Jalen Turner 100% was going to fight Thiago Moises at 155 and was going to be able to use all those gifts like the range and his size and maybe just keep the fight standing where he'd have a significant striking advantage. Weaver, and this goes exactly to what Guru's saying because he's got a great point, he's just tough. That's his only thing. Listen, we've already watched all the tape on him. Can he wrestle? No. Can he strike? No, not really. Can he take a punch? I don't know. Kazula Vargas had him down pretty good. Can he grapple? I don't know. Roosevelt Roberts out grappled pretty soundly. Like, what exactly does this guy do? Why would you ever back him? Why would you not just go all in on Turner? Well, that's the one thing. He's got some size and he's just tough, right? Maybe that's enough to just get Turner out of the first round, whereas he's 1-3 beyond the first round. So all those little intangibles are the reason that the price tag's just too big. So that's the last thing.
Man, that's a good point. I haven't heard a lot of people mention the fact that catch weight that really could change things. It throws an X factor on the fight. Absolutely.